Did McAuliffe backtrack on his strategy to tie Youngkin to Trump in the Virginia gubernatorial race? This weekly column on the next race for the White House usually zeroes in on the burgeoning contest for the 2024 GOP presidential nomination. But with former President Donald Trump, the overwhelming frontrunner right now in the next Republican nomination race, front and center in Tuesday's closely watched Virginia gubernatorial election. We'll start with the high-profile 2021 statewide showdown with national implications after repeatedly linking GOP nominee Glenn Youngkin to Trump for months. Former Democratic Virginia Gov. Terry McAuliffe told reporters this weekend that the election is not about Trump. McAuliffe's comment during a gaggle with reporters in Virginia Beach on Saturday comes after the former governor, who's running to win back his old job, has rarely missed an opportunity to tie Youngkin to Trump at his campaign events, in his ads, and in his interviews. The strategy's simple. Opposition to Trump sparked heavy turnout by Democrats during his presidency, helping to fuel the blue wave that enabled the Democrats to convincingly win back the House of Representatives in the 2018 midterms and help propel now President Biden to victory over Trump in last November's election. Now, with Trump more than 9 months removed from the White House, McAuliffe's battling a voter enthusiasm gap among Democrats in a race that most of the latest polls indicates is all tied up, in a state where Republicans haven't won an election for governor, lieutenant governor, or attorney general in a dozen years. And those same polls indicate that Trump, who lost Virginia by 10 points to Biden in last year's presidential election, remains very unpopular among Democrats and independent voters. When pressed by Fox News' Rich Edson about saying that the Virginia race is not about the former president, McAuliffe said Trump is not liked here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. People want to be lifted up. Trump is hate and division. And McAuliffe said that Trump wants to run again in 2024 and suggested that the former president wants to use the 2021 election as a launch pad for that. Trump remains very popular with Republican voters in Virginia and across the country, and extremely influential with GOP politicians, as he continues to play a kingmaker's role in the party and repeatedly teases another presidential run in 2024. And his endorsement of Youngkin in the spring helped the first-time candidate and former private equity CEO, who hails from the business wing of the party, win Virginia's heavily contested GOP nomination. At the time, Youngkin said that Trump represents so much of why I'm running, a comment that the McAuliffe has repeated on the stump and his campaign has spotlighted in their ads. But during the final stretch of the general election campaign, Youngkin appears to be keeping Trump at a distance, while McAuliffe's teamed up at rallies with Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Obama, and other top Democrats. Youngkin has eschewed stumping with Trump and other top GOP surrogates as he kicked off his current statewide bus tour. Youngkin emphasized that he wouldn't be campaigning with top surrogates and instead would feature everyday Virginians. Trump last week flirted with parachuting into Virginia to hold a rally on behalf of Youngkin, saying in a statement on Thursday, "See you soon." And Taylor Buttigieg, communications director for Trump's Save America political organization, tweeted that President Trump looks forward to being back in Virginia. Details will be released when appropriate. Hallelujah, was McAuliffe's initial reaction to reporters minutes after Trump's statement started going viral, and soon afterward he put out a statement once again tying the GOP nominee to the former president, claiming that Glenn Youngkin's entire campaign has been a full embrace of Donald Trump's dangerous extremism. Neither Trump's statement or Buttigieg's tweet specifically said whether a visit would come before or after Election Day on Tuesday, and sources close to the former president told Fox News hours later that Trump wouldn't be visiting Virginia ahead of Tuesday's election. But now plans are in the works for a Trump tele-rally on the eve of the election. Youngkin told reporters on Saturday that he was not going to be engaged in the Trump event. "It is just killing Trump that he is not here, obviously," McAuliffe argued. "I think Trump is trying to play whichever happens. Trump is always going to claim credit for himself no matter whatever happens. Trump is very unpopular in this state. Everyone knows that. That is probably why Youngkin doesn't want him." The tease of the Trump in-person rally gave McAuliffe a quick fundraising burst. But will his full-court press of linking Youngkin to the former president carrying the former governor to victory on Tuesday? One of the freshest polls in the race, a Washington Post Schar School survey, indicated that 53% said Trump's endorsement of Youngkin makes no difference to their vote, with 37% saying it makes them less likely to support the GOP nominee and 7% saying it makes them more likely to vote for Youngkin. Tim Phillips, president of the powerful conservative and libertarian political advocacy group Americans for Prosperity, told Fox News, "I don't think the former president has played much of a role in the race." Phillips, who's been leading a team from AFP's political wing and get out the vote efforts in support of Youngkin, argued McAuliffe's efforts to tie the GOP nominee to Trump just sounds tone-deaf to a lot of Virginians I'm talking to. Phillips, who lives in Northern Virginia, said that voters are talking about inflation. They're looking at a meltdown in the public schools. And here's a guy talking about the last president of the United States. who isn't in office anymore. It just sounds tone deaf to people and where they are in their everyday lives. The Republican Jewish Coalition's annual National Leadership Conference is shaping up to be the first sizable cattle call in the next race for the GOP presidential nomination. The four-day confab, which kicks off Thursday in Las Vegas, Nevada, is drawing 8 potential 2024 Republican White House hopefuls to speak in person to the influential crowd of GOP leaders, rainmakers, megadonors, and activists. The possible GOP presidential contenders speaking at the event include former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, former South Carolina Governor and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley, Florida Gov. Ron DeSantis, Sens, Ted Cruz of Texas, and Rick Scott of Florida, South Dakota Gov. Kristi Noem, and former New Jersey Gov. Chris Christie. And Trump will deliver a video address to the conference. Longtime RJC Executive Director Matt Brooks told Fox News that the impressive lineup of in-person speakers is a testament to the leadership of the organization, who encompasses so many of the top influencers, donors, contributors, and fundraisers in the Republican Party. This is the only time you could have all these folks assembled together. It's the hottest ticket of the season. We are thrilled and honored that this is now seen as a must-stop event in terms of people planning and their scheduling, and it's been that way for the last couple of years. Brooks emphasized, "We're looking forward to hearing what they're saying and what their vision is for the country going forward." He added, Tom Rath, the former New Hampshire Attorney General and longtime GOP consultant who's a veteran of numerous Republican presidential campaigns, said that such cattle calls, which draw the potential contenders as well as top party donors and activists, are an event of convenience for both sides of the equation and for possible White House hopefuls. Rath said if you want to make it clear that you're interested in doing this, you've got to go to these places and go through these cattle calls to at least get into these stories. This year's RJC Leadership Conference is their first since the passing in January of Republican megadonor Sheldon Adelson, who for years played a key leadership role with the group and gave it generous financial support. Brooks, who said that Adelson will be honored during the final evening of the confab, noted that standing there and being a part of it and not having him there will be difficult for me personally, and I'm sure for our guests and our speakers as well. Ahead of the RJC conference, Cruz and 2 other possible 2024 contenders, Sens, Marco Rubio of Florida and Josh Hawley of Missouri, will speak at the annual National Conservatism Conference, which is being held Sunday and Monday in Orlando, Florida. Cuomo fires back at Sheriff Ag James over criminal charges, disgraced former New York Gov. Andrew Cuomo on Sunday accused Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple and State Attorney General Letitia James of incompetence and abuse of law after he was charged with a misdemeanor sex crime last week. In the last 72 hours, Sheriff Apple and Tish James have epitomized the worst combination of politics, incompetence, and abuse of the law, the Democrat tweeted. A city court in Albany, the state capital, on Thursday issued a summons charging Cuomo after a criminal complaint was filed by Apple claiming Cuomo groped Brittany Commisso, a former staffer at the governor's mansion last year. Cuomo, who resigned in August, claimed the charge was politically motivated and based on flimsy evidence. A press release on Cuomo's website Sunday called James and Apple political bedfellows who are abusing their office and putting their agenda over their ethical and constitutional duty, and that both officials have provided zero evidence to corroborate Commisso's allegations. Politics is to be kept separate from law enforcement. The release stated, "Citizens choose their leaders in elections not by political prosecution of opponents. That is the cardinal rule James and Apple have violated, and justice dictates that it must be corrected." At a news conference Friday, Apple said he was confident in the strength of the case and insisted politics played no role. He also called the governor's operatives bullies. James, who oversaw the independent investigation that concluded Cuomo sexually harassed at least 11 women, lauded Apple's decision, releasing a statement that said the criminal charges brought today against Mr. Cuomo for forcible touching further validate the findings in our report. James, a Democrat, announced her intention to run for governor on Friday, one day after the complaint was filed. Major California city becomes the most unaffordable housing market in America. Sacramento, California, is at the top of the list for the United States' least affordable new homes markets. A new study examining household incomes and comparing them with median new home construction mortgages found the California capital tying with Miami, Florida. 80% of households in the Sacramento region, same as Miami, are priced out of new homes. The study from real estate technology firm NUC found the median new construction home price in the Sacramento region is $650,000, which means residents need an income of about $128,000 to afford an average down payment of $39,000. The median household income in the area is $76,706 according to the report. One Sacramento real estate group owner, Kelly Pleasant, said there is a shortage of homes in the area and the market has become less competitive in the last 45 days. Instead of maybe 10 offers, you're seeing 5 offers. Pleasant told the Sacramento Bee, instead of $50,000 or $60,000 over, maybe you're getting it at list price or $20,000 over. Home values in the area also jumped by 21% over the last year. Rental prices came up with the jump to an average of $1,760 per month. Behind Sacramento and Miami, residents of Las Vegas are priced out of new homes at 65%. Phoenix residents at 63% and Denver at 62%, according to the study. This year, California reported its first yearly population decrease for the first time in the state's history. All in, California's population fell by more than 182,000 in 2020. Many have cited the state's high taxes and how it's not affordable for families. The numbers don't lie. People are leaving our state because it's not affordable to live here. One-party rule has made it almost impossible to raise a family, tweeted Kevin Faulconer, the former mayor of San Diego. In May, Elon Musk warns Austin, Texas not to become a copycat liberal city. Tesla CEO Elon Musk warned Sunday against turning the city of Austin, Texas, into a San Francisco copycat. Austin should be its city, not a San Francisco copycat. The billionaire tweeted. Musk was responding to a Fox News report earlier Sunday about the proposal in Austin to bulk up the city's police department and a series of reports on the city's record number of homicides in 2021. Proposition A ballot measure for the NOV. 2 election backed by the group Save Austin Now would require at least 2 Austin police officers for every 1,000 residents and would provide officers with an additional 40 hours of police training each year on topics such as weapons proficiency and active shooter scenarios. It comes after the Austin City Council voted in the wake of the George Floyd protests last year to cut up to $150 million from its police department budget, a little more than a third of its total budget, and reinvest that money into other public services. Since then, the city has experienced a nearly 71% increase in homicides. Musk made headlines earlier this month after he announced Tesla's headquarters will be moving to Austin from Fremont, California, in part because of the cost of living. I'm excited to announce that we're moving our headquarters to Austin, Texas, Musk said during Tesla's annual stockholders meeting on Oct. 7. He said the electric car maker will continue to expand in California significantly, but even more so here in Texas. It's tough for people to afford houses and a lot of people have to come in from far away. He said, we've taken it as far as possible, but there's a limit to how big you can scale it in the Bay Area. Here in Austin, our factory's like 5 minutes from the airport, 15 minutes from downtown, and we're going to create an ecological paradise here because we're right on the Colorado River. He added, it's gonna be great.